Welcome to You Can Do It Too, a podcast highlighting regular folks who followed their dreams and made it happen. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I've been described as a risk taker, though I never thought of myself that way. My mom always told me I could do or be whatever I wanted as long as I set my mind to it, and I believed her. I ran a successful catering company that led to owning and operating a top 10 Orange County restaurant and catering venue, prior to earning a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing. You know what I learned by going to school after all of that? You don't need a degree to accomplish your dreams. You need drive, passion, and a belief in yourself. You also need some caring folks who support you and believe in you. I didn't need a formula to tell me how to properly staff for a week. I needed common sense and a deep care for creating outstanding dining experiences for my guests. I've been coaching and consulting with salespeople and small business owners for the last few years and blogging with business advice. I just wanted to do more, to reach more of you. I decided to talk with folks I admire, who kick ass at what they do, to show you that you can do it too. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining us today on You Can Do It Too. I am Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. Today, I am with Paul Levitin. Paul is a self-confidence coach and behavior change specialist. As a coach, podcaster, writer, and public speaker, Paul helps millennial professionals overcome self-doubt so that they can make more money doing what they love. Through his podcast, Happy Healthy Human, Paul aims to educate, inspire, and help 1 million people live a happy, healthy life. Welcome, Paul.
That's amazing. Thank you, Joan. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I just love the messages that you put out, Paul. You talk a lot about fear and taking risks and being positive and not being afraid of any circumstance that might come our way. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started coaching? What's your story?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I appreciate you having me and asking. And my coaching career has started almost 10 years ago at this point. I kind of fell into coaching through the fitness space. So I was a personal trainer first, and I got that job. I went to school for business administration, business marketing. I graduated in 2012, shortly after we were still kind of rebounding from the 2008 recession, and my job prospects were low. I was also kind of a slacker in school. So although I did graduate, I wasn't exactly what you would call a good student, and I didn't do anything really to prepare myself for the job market. And so I didn't get hired out of college, and eventually just fell into personal training because it was a job where they would hire you. And really, it was a sales job. What I learned was that it was a sales job because you only get paid for what you sell. So they just hired me, and they were like, well, if you can figure it out, you figure it out. If not, you don't. And Through that, I started helping people. I became good at it. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to figure it out. So I trained myself. I became good at it, became good at both training and sales. But that was my first foray into coaching, which coaching I just look at as teaching. And that's all training was. As a personal trainer, I got into nutrition then from there as the next logical step. And then all of that led me to more what I call personal development and behavior change, because that's what everything is about. And that's what coaching is about. It's like, how do you get people to act, to change? And so again, it's teaching, it's coaching, it's mentorship. So I fell into it kind of by happenstance, but then grew with it because I saw what it could be and how powerful of a tool that it was. And it's something that I feel like everyone needs. So I just kind of went with it.
Which is great. I love how, so maybe you didn't have the plan, but when you realized what you enjoyed and what you were good at, you went with it and just kept growing and growing into it, which is great. So you were doing personal training and now and nutrition and health coaching. and now you're a self-confidence coach. So is that what you're talking about is that the mindset stuff that you were talking about you moved into?
Yeah. So, through learning about fitness and nutrition and helping people, right? People would come to me in the gym. Usually it's to lose weight. Sometimes it's to gain weight or muscle or something like that, but it's pretty simple. And yet we struggle so much, right? There's an obesity epidemic. People find it so hard to lose weight. It is hard to lose weight for a lot of people. It's hard to stay consistent. It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to do all of these things that are theoretically simple, but in practice hard. And that's what I became very interested in, is like the why behind the what. Why is it that we can have a specific plan, whether it's for losing weight, building a business, having a better relationship with your family? It's like we know what to do. The books exist. Google exists, Chat GPT exists. Like there is a step-by-step plan. Whatever you want to accomplish, someone else has already done it and they've left a step-by-step plan for you to follow. And yet we still struggle. So that became the thing I was very interested in. It's like, well, why is that? And it's psychology, it's human behavior.
Well, yeah, but it's because if you're going to lose weight, it doesn't happen in a week or even 2 weeks. Right. It takes time to see the change. So, I mean, even if you're looking to lose weight and you just lose a fraction of the pound, you're losing, right? So can't you be excited about that? But I think that we all want instant gratification.
100%. That's a big part of it, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like that became the stuff that I became interested in. It's like you can call it mindset, you can call it psychology, you can call it behavioral science, but it's just the what's going on between our ears that is making us make those decisions. So exactly that. Looking for instant gratification in a pursuit that takes longer is what I call a route to self-sabotage. Because then we get into our own heads. We go, well, this isn't fair. I've done the hard work, but it's not paying off. Screw this. Yes. I quit. Right. And like then to answer your question about why it became about self-confidence, because I just looked at all of these things that people would come to me for: losing weight, eating better. I started, I would coach people in sales and different things like that, where so that's about money. It's like, what do people want? They want to look better, to have more money, to do this, but it's also that they can feel more confident in themselves. It's like, I want that, people come to the gym. It's like, oh, well, when I lose the weight, I would ask, what happens when you lose this weight? Tell me what's the big goal? Well, when I lose the weight, then I'll be able to go on the beach without a shirt, and then I'll feel more confident. It's like when you have all this money, when you finally make $100,000 a year, what's going to happen? Well, then I'll feel better. I'll feel more confident that I'm able to take care of my family. It's like, so confidence is the goal, right? Like we're going about it in this roundabout way where it's like, I'll be confident when I look a certain way, have a certain thing or whatever, where I was just like, well, why don't I just cut out the middleman and help people get to the actual thing? And then all of the rest of this stuff will fall into place.
Oh my gosh. So you're saying that when it comes to the real root of what it is people want, they don't want all those superficial things. They want to feel good. They want to be happy, and they want to be comfortable being who they are.
Right. Exactly. And then there's a saying I love, which is like, change the root, change the fruit. Right. So it's like, or you like the analogy of peeling back the onion. It's like, let's get to the middle, right? You peel back the onion, eventually you reach the center. And so the stuff that I like to talk about is the core stuff. And that's what I think is worth my time more. And again, the thing is that when you change that inner stuff, the root, it's easy to change the outside stuff. So using your example of like the instant gratification, I don't have to teach you how to diet or how to exercise or how to save for the future. What I have to teach you is to stop being swayed by instant gratification and learn to stick it out through the ups and downs of the long haul. And if you can do that, plug in whatever your goal is, again, whether it's changing your body, changing your finances, changing your relationship, because they all go by the same rules. Do it for long enough and you will get the result. So if you can just do that, it's like we've jumped over what people are, they get so fixated on like, well, what's the best X, Y, and Z? It's like, don't worry about that. There are certain core principles of success that underlie everything. And if you can understand those, that's the real route to getting wherever you want to go in life.
Oh my gosh. That makes so much sense. I know several people who have done surgery to lose weight, and they had such a hard time afterwards. They did lose the weight, but then they started being self-conscious about when people were giving them compliments. Mm-hmm. They didn't know how to handle it. They they started questioning, well, oh, you're telling me how good I look now. So what, did I look like shit before? I mean, they really had a lot of issues, even though they were losing the weight. They lost 80 pounds, and at that 80-pound weight, they were still dealing with all that stuff in their head.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And again, this is nothing that I've made up or anything. This is Buddhism, a lot, Stoicism, pretty much every ancient religion talks about the same thing. But it's like, if you're looking for happiness, when I'll be happy when, that is never a route to true happiness. True happiness, fulfillment, contentment, whatever you want to call it, has to come from within. And that's why I like the word confidence. And it's because it's like, when I'm truly confident, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what other people perceive of me or think of me or say about me, because I'm confident in myself. And that is the ultimate superpower, because then I have the ability to make any decision and do anything I want, because I'm not basing it off of what other people may or may not say about me. I'm not basing it off of what my family will think or what my partner will think. I'm confident in myself and my abilities and my decision making. I'm confident in my ability to figure it out. That's the main thing, because that's the main thing that trips people up. It's like, well, what'll happen if this? I believe in myself that I will figure it out no matter what. No matter what problem presents itself, I believe that I have the capacity to figure it out. So if that's the case, then I don't have to be afraid of taking any risk. I don't have to be afraid of quitting my job. I don't have to be afraid of getting dumped. I don't have to be afraid of anything that normal people avoid, because it's like, yeah, that might happen and that might suck, but I will figure it out. And as long as I know that, then I'm going to be okay.
Right. And when you have that confidence, maybe you judge yourself a little less. And when something doesn't work out, Thomas Edison pops in your head and says, oh, I just figured out 99 ways that doesn't work to make a light bulb. So I can try something new.
Right, exactly. The downs are as much of a part of it as the ups. I tell my clients this all the time. It's like, it's yin and yang. You can't have good without bad. If every day is amazing, then it's not amazing anymore. It's average. That's just regular. It takes feeling pain to understand what pleasure is. And in the same way, the down days, the bad days, the tough days, those are a part of the process. Like, those are as much a part of it as the good parts. So like, it's when I'm struggling, there's, use my relationship with my girlfriend, for example, we could get into an argument where like, my thought process, like, oh, what this is so annoying. Why are we fighting? I can't believe we're fighting over this. I can't believe we're arguing. But then I come to, this is just how it goes. I don't live in a fantasy world where I'm going to have a relationship for the rest of my life where we don't get into arguments. It would be nonsense to think that. So the fact that this is an argument just means it's a part of the overall process. It is a part of the puzzle. It is not a bad part or a good part or a right part or a wrong part. It just is. Positive and negative are values that we put on things. Things are not good or bad. That we just assess them that way. So if I can ignore that and just go, okay, this is just part of what a relationship is. Tomorrow it won't be there. It'll be a different thing. And then I just move forward from there.
Yeah. Plus, it would be really boring if you didn't argue every once in a while.
Exactly.
Gotta spice things up.
Right.
All right. I have a lot more questions, but we got to hear from our sponsors. So folks, hang in there. We will be right back. I am lucky to have some amazing award-winning cheeses right up the road. Door Artisan Cheese in Egg Harbor, Wisconsin offers small batch cheeses that have been winning awards for years. And in Wisconsin, that's some tough competition. You don't have to live in Door County to get these cheeses, though. Just go to doorartisancheese.com and check out their selection. Their most popular is the Top Hat Cheddar, but my favorite is their beer-washed Gouda called Valmy. Check them out for yourself at doorartisancheese.com. If you're an expert in your field, have a unique story to tell, or an interesting point of view, it's time to explore the world of podcasting with Kitcaster, a podcast booking agency. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Your audience is waiting to hear from you. Go to kitcaster.com/Maven to apply for a special offer for friends of this podcast. All right, welcome back. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven, and today I am with Paul. He is a success coach, a confidence coach, and we are talking about self-confidence and the importance of understanding that, it's about how you look at a situation, right? So, you talk a lot about the benefits of taking risks in your blogs and your social posts. You recently posted that you quit your job, and that's a big risk. How was it taking that risk?
Yeah, so again, kind of going back to what I was saying before, I don't really look at it as a risk. I look at it more as just a change in direction. And to be perfectly fair, taking this job was a risk. So if you rewind a little bit further, I quit my last job in 2022 to travel for a year in the beginning of 2022. And I traveled for a year. And then I got this job offered to me as I was traveling. I was in Austin, Texas, which is where I'm recording this right now. I was only supposed to be in Austin, Texas for 2 weeks. And I got offered this job and decided to try it out, signed a lease and stayed for a year. And so even taking the job was like a risk in the sense that it was never part of the plan. But that's kind of something that I always try to be, is like the universe presents an opportunity. So let's try it. Tried it, gave it 10 months. I wanted to give it a year, but I came to the conclusion that this wasn't where I wanted to be. So to delay the inevitable at that point was silly to me. So I quit. But yes, I did quit with no real parachute. I mean, I do have my own podcast and my own business, but that brings its own hardships, right? Everyone knows the challenge of being an entrepreneur is, the alluring salary of a traditional 9-to-5 job is the safety net that sometimes we can look towards. And, not having that can feel dangerous, which it is. But to me, the real deciding factor was which of these places is where I really want to be. Like when I think about what is best for me, it's not about making more money. Like, yes, there's a base level of survival that we need money for, and that's important. But beyond that, like, I don't want to be spending my days in an office. And that was really the deciding factor. And in reality, again, going back to self-confidence, I believe because I've worked to create these skills and I know that I can make money. I don't have a problem with it. I've done sales. I can always get a job in sales. I have my own business. I can create money. Like when you have that's what I'm talking about. When it's like confidence is the thing that allows me to do that. I don't think people will say like, oh, like, what are you going to do? It's like, I don't know. I'll figure it out because I've done it before. I figured it out before. And so I know that that's going to be the case. And I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And that gives me the freedom to make a decision like that. When there are other people at that job that I left who were like, oh, I want to quit, but they're never going to do it. They'd been there before I started, and they're going to be there long after I leave because they're never going to actually be able to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it has to do with that mindset. You're not afraid. You see it as a challenge. You'll figure it out. You have that self-confidence.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's like, you said, like life is boring without that stuff. Right. So it's like, yeah, could I get a job and stay at the same job for 40 years and then retire? It's like, sure. I mean, again, that's idiot proof. Like anyone can do that. That's, like if you're a robot, you can do that. It's like, what do we do? Like the ups and downs of trying new things and exploring and going to the fringes and seeing what's out there. And maybe, you cross over the line and then you get bit, but then you pull your hand back. Like that's all okay. That's part of a life well lived, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that attitude. How do you like Austin? So you're originally from New York, is that right?
Yeah, I'm from New York. I traveled again in 2022. I packed up my car and just drove around the country for almost 10 months, just staying in different cities and different Airbnbs and just kind of living and running my business from my car and from the computer as a digital nomad is able to do in the year 2020 something. And then I landed in Austin. I like it. It's great. Coming up on a year here. We'll maybe stay, maybe go again. I live very month by month at this point in my life.
I um I definitely appreciate that. When my husband went to culinary school and we were both talking about where should he go to school, and we checked out a bunch of schools, and I said, let's go somewhere we've never been. So that's how we chose where we were going to go, somewhere we'd never been, somewhere we thought, let's try it. We went from California to Vermont. Huge, huge change. Definitely an experience, but so worth it, right? I mean, it was hard, but it was an experience that I wouldn't want to have missed, I think. So, Paul, this podcast is going to air on New Year's Eve, and I have seen some of your posts about things that we should be thinking about when we're trying to come up with our plans for New Year's, when we're thinking about what are we going to do for a New Year's resolution, or what are the goals that we want to reach. And obviously, you're very passionate about focusing on being happy and healthy. And me too. That's my goal for my future years and the rest of my life is happiness. I just want to be happy. I want to be healthy so that I can see my kids get married and see grandbabies and know them. Can you give me some advice and our listeners some advice about what things you think we should focus on to achieve happiness?
Yeah, big question, right? For one, I think that, that's why my whole thing is happy, healthy, human, right? I think this is human stuff. I don't think there's many people out there who are saying that they don't want to be a little bit happier or a little bit healthier, unless you're saying, well, all you care about is money. And then it's like, well, then we're not the same, like that's for you. And you'll come around eventually, right? Because this is what the stuff that really matters. And I love the conversation about New Year's resolutions, because as a coach, specifically in the fitness world, I used to not like New Year's resolutions, right? My messaging used to be like, you don't have to wait till January 1st. Like, you can do it anytime. Like, why wait? Start now, which is true, right? There's nothing magical about January 1st. But the thing is that I've learned is that humans, for whatever reason, are strange creatures. And we do have what they call temporal landmarks, which are times that feel different and indicate in our subconscious kind of a turning of the page. So New Year's is one, birthdays are one, starting a new job, a lot of also specific birthdays. Anniversaries, but ones that end in 0 and 5 specifically, right? There's just certain things that like a 35th birthday is different than a 36th birthday. A 40th birthday is very, like, it feels more important to us, even though they're all just random numbers, right? So for whatever reason, for better or for worse, we do have this natural inclination to feel more amped up on January 1st. So again, where I used to be like, don't wait. Now I'm like, who cares what it is? Lean into it. So if you're feeling motivated because it's January 1st and you're like, this is going to be my year, then I love that for you. And I want you to lean into that because that's real. Now, what are we talking about in terms of tactics to actually do that? What I want, what I really want people to take away from this is, whatever you want to do, I want you to make it easier. I think a lot of people jump in, especially New Year's resolutions, January 1st. They're like, what am I going to do? Like, okay, say I have a health goal. Okay, I'm going to stop eating so many carbs. I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. I'm going to stop drinking as much. I'm going to start sleeping more. I'm going to start exercising 5 days a week. It's like, you've already lost. You're drinking through a fire hose and you're taking on too much. Human nature is to push back against change. We don't like change. That's why we have a natural proclivity to stay the same. We'll always err towards the status quo over something different, right? That's human nature. It's the nature of all animals. So if we want to change to stick, we have to make it so small that it's almost imperceptible, right? So this is like again, these things that as a younger coach, I would have said, like, that's silly. The take the stairs instead of the escalator, park farther away in the parking lot instead of parking right up next to the store. Take small walks throughout your day. But these things are so small that they don't feel so obtrusive. when you're going from I've never
Mm-hmm.
worked out before to I'm going to work out 5 days a week for 2 hours, it's like you can't do that. Your brain is not going to allow. Your subconscious is
Right.
going to go like, this is too much. I'm going to die. We need to stop. And it's going to give you a reason to quit. So what I want to
Mm-hmm.
do, what I actually help with work with my clients to do, is to make easier goals. And this is actually like an acronym that I use. It's a whole goal setting framework that if you want to, I'll share. I have a worksheet that people can download, so it actually breaks this down into steps. But the gist of it is like easier. It's literally an acronym: EASIER. E is for enthusiastic, right? Is it something that I actually care about? Not the goal, but the action, right? So everyone wants to get healthy, but are you enthusiastic about the action that you're taking to get there? Right. So not about are you enthusiastic
Oh,
about losing 50 pounds? Are you enthusiastic about cutting out
yeah.
carbs? Because you might say, well, of course I want to lose 50 pounds, but I don't want to cut out carbs, but I'm cutting out carbs. Well, it's like, well, you're fighting yourself. You have to find something
Right.
that doesn't feel so obtrusive, something that you can get excited about. So maybe you're like, well, I don't want to cut out carbs. Okay, then that's not the right diet for you. Maybe, well, again, same thing with running. I hate running. So you could tell me that running is the best exercise in the world, but I'm not going to do it. So it's like I have to. So for me, riding my bike is something I get enthusiastic about. I love riding my bike. So even if it's not the most quote unquote ideal, for me, it's the thing that I like. Right. So that's E.
Mm-hmm.
A is for A is for available. So is this something that is available to you with your current restrictions and limitations? Right. So it's like, okay, I heard you're supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, but you're a mom who doesn't get to go to sleep until 12 o'clock and then has to have the kids ready for school at 6 a.m. So like, you're not going to be getting up at 5 a.m., doing a meditation, doing a cold plunge, doing all this stuff. Like that's not realistically available to you. Right. Again, all of this stuff is just making the chunking down the goal to make it easy
Mm-hmm.
enough that you actually are able to stick to it. Because as you said before in the beginning, people want instant gratification, but the real route to success is long-term consistency and sustainability. So again, it's a whole framework that I use, but the gist of it is make things easier, not harder. We have this thought that it's like, well, if I want a goal, like I have to, like, obviously the route to do it is hard, right? So it's like, well, if eating 2,000 calories is good, then eating 1,500 calories is better, then eating 1,000 calories is double good. But it's like, no, like there's the point of diminishing returns, right? Exercise is good, but you exercise too much, you injure yourself, right? Working is
Mm-hmm.
good. You work too much and now you're a workaholic and you're getting divorced because you haven't seen your family in 3 months. So it's like there's an upper limit to how much work we can do. So the real answer is to find that sweet spot of I'm doing enough to get the result, but it's easy enough that I don't push back against it and I don't get any of those adverse effects. And it kind of takes a little bit of
Mm.
guess and check, but that's when you're really able to make this a lifestyle change. So everyone says like, I want to make it a lifestyle. Well, okay, then you have to, it can't be something that you hate, that you're gritting your teeth to bear to get through every day. It has to be something that is enjoyable.
Right. And maybe they pick something easy to start and then they're feeling comfortable with it and then they could do something a little bit harder as they move forward because they're more confident.
Right, exactly. You can always scale up. It's making things harder is easy, right? Like that's the paradox of it. It's like that's why people jump right into
Mm-hmm.
doing hard things, because they're just like it makes sense. Nuance is
Mm-hmm.
actually the hard thing. The gray area is the hard thing. Again, like, yeah, I just use this as an example. Not that this is all about diet, but people always jump to cutting out carbs. Why? No one sticks to
Mm-hmm.
cutting out carbs. Why do we all go there? Everyone knows that every person has tried it and failed it, and everyone has a cousin that tried it and failed it, and every person might know one person who lost a ton of weight, but they probably gained it back. But we all keep trying it. Why? Because it's idiot proof. No carbs. I can understand that rule. Now actually the reality, which would be some carbs are good, some carbs are bad. You can probably eat all of them in moderation, and depending on which one, what moderation that target changes, and it also has to do with how much protein you eat. It also has to do with your overall activity, probably your sleep too, probably your age and hormones. It's like now we're getting too complex. That's the real answer,
Right.
right? But like it's actually, and if you figure it out, it's actually much easier because now you have a diet where you're not restricting anything overly. You're able to eat the foods you enjoy. It's actually a much easier route to success, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
sound as easy and it's not as easy to set up.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually make things harder on ourselves because we think that's the way it has to be. Oh, if it's not this grind, then it's not going to work out. When in reality, it's like you don't, it doesn't have to be pulling teeth. And that actually sets you up for success in the long run better anyway.
Oh, that makes total sense. So then when do you recommend like looking at what you've been doing and saying, do you see the progress? Is it like, do you want to you choose these incremental, these easy goals or
Right.
these easy things so that there are things that you like doing, and then when do you stop and go check my progress?
You're checking progress all the time. That's all that matters, right? So that's the thing. People go like, is it hard enough or is it easy? It's like, are you making progress? If like
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like people will be like, oh well, I'm not working. Like again, people will talk themselves out of something that's already working, right? It's like, well, I'm going to the gym, but it doesn't burn, it doesn't hurt. I was like, well, are you making progress? Well, yeah, I lost a little bit of weight, or I'm running more than I ran. It's like, okay, then that's the answer. If you're not making progress, then okay, like then obviously, like it has to, again, that's why it has to be that sweet spot. You do have to, there has to be some level of hard work, right? Because if you're not, your
Hmm.
goal is to move forward. It has to be enough to move the needle, but that's it.
Right.
That's the point, is that like, and you can move the needle with a lot less than people think. It's you want to take the path of least resistance. Again, you can play the game on hard mode, but you're going to get
Mhm.
frustrated and throw the controller. Or you could play the game on easy mode and it almost feels annoying in the sense that like it doesn't even feel like you're doing anything, but that's how you
Mhm.
actually beat the game. So it's like you're punishing yourself because you think that it needs to be a certain way, and it just doesn't have to be like that. The all that matters is, are you making progress? That's the one thing that you track. It's like, well, is this good or bad? Are you making progress? What is your
Mhm.
goal? My goal is to save more money. Well, should I be cutting out more Starbucks or whatever? It's like, well, are you saving money or are you spending more than you're saving? I'm still saving. Okay, well, if you're still saving while you're drinking your daily Starbucks, then it's good enough. Well, no, I drink Starbucks every day, and I'm not saving. Well, then you probably need to look at that. Like it's the most simple
Right.
thing. We overcomplicate this stuff so much, and it's just like you can make it so much simpler. It's literally telling you, is it working or not? And if it's working, you keep doing
Mhm.
it, and if it's not, you edit it, and like you just keep repeating that process. But again, the whole thing is keeping going. That's why, again, it's not
Yes.
about like finding the magic thing that works. Anyone can do it for a day. Anyone can write a budget and stick to it for a week. But what happens 2 months later? It's like, oh yeah, I had that thing. I haven't really looked at it in a while. Anyone can get a diet and stick to it until, oh, because the summer's coming, I'm going to diet really hard. It's like anyone can start. Everyone started going to the gym and felt really good for 2 weeks and then stopped. It's like the thing is, can you keep going? It's not can you do it. It's can you keep it up.
Right. So it's about persistence and longevity. It's about hanging in there.
Right. Longevity is a great word. Like sustainability, longevity, consistency. These are words I love. Persistence. Yes, that's a good one too. Like it's keeping it up for the long term and making sure that you're showing up again day after day. So I said I have that acronym easier, EASIER.
Mhm.
R in easier stands for repeatable. That's the last piece of the puzzle. Repeatable. Can you do this not just today? Can you do this every day forever? And it doesn't have to be every day, right? If you're talking about exercise, it doesn't have to be every day, say 3 days a week, whatever. But can you keep it up forever? Because again, a lot of people come into this with like, well, I can do it until I reach my goal, right? I know I can diet, but like I'm not going to diet once I lose the weight.
Mhm.
Like what that would be like the whole point of dieting is to lose the weight and then be done with it. Or I'm gonna work out until I look right. I'm gonna work out until I look a certain way. But then it's like, but if you have that mindset from the beginning, you're setting yourself up for failure, because if you can't maintain the action, like I said, this isn't about the goal. This is the action repeatable? If you can't keep doing the action, that means you're going to go back to your old habits. If you go back to your old habits, you're going to go back to your old results. And that's when you get stuck in this cycle of start, stop, do, lose, do, lose, do, lose, whatever you want to call it, because you haven't thought about the long term repercussions of what you're doing. If you're going to commit to something, then you need to commit full out. And if it's not worth committing to full out, then that's
Mhm.
fine. Maybe it's not worth committing to. But these half in, wishy washy, like, well, I'm going to do it. And then, like, like once I get to where I'm going to go, then I'm going to do something else. It's like that probably is what's holding you back.
Mhm. Mhm. So how do you convince your clients to stick with it and keep up with their goals?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is how I talk to people that I work with. It's just, I'm not, this is not like, I'm not being motivational. just being real. This is reality. This is life.
Yeah.
You know, that's what, like, when I talk, this is all, I'm not saying anything. This is not my opinion. It's just reality. This is just how the human brain works. If I could tell you, just hammer it and then you'll get there and then you'll keep it forever, then I would tell you to do that. Like, the reality is that we know what works and what doesn't. Psychologists have studied this for long enough. Anyone who has a kid will tell you, you tell a kid what to do. What do? They do the exact opposite, right? You got to use reverse psychology. Ooh, mommy loves this carrot puree. And they're like, wait, give me some of that, right? Like, humans have little things, little tendencies that we can play with. So it's like, all I'm doing, like, again, that's why my podcast is Happy, Healthy, Human, because all of this stuff is just about human nature. All I do is I study the way humans are. I've done it for my job. I do it for fun. I read a lot of books about this stuff. And it's just, you can understand there's certain rules to this game. So my job as a coach is to just help you see that. I can't make the decision for you. I can't, whether it's weight loss, whether it's whatever. It's like, people they hire me for accountability. It's like, no level of anything can make you accountable. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. The best route that I can do is be honest with people about their limitations. Meaning, again, what I was saying before, people will be like, well, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Again, using the gym as an example. When I was a personal trainer, guys would come in all the time like, I want to have 6-pack abs in 3 months. I'm like, well, that's impossible. Here's what we can do. Here's what's possible. You can have 6-pack ab in 6 months. But if you want that, here's what you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to give up drinking on the weekends. You're going to have to give up this. You're going to have to give up this. You're going to have to be in here working with me 3 times a week and 3 more times on your own, and all these things. And now he can make an informed decision. Because before, you're coming from a place of ignorance where it's just like, well, the decision is, do I want abs or do I not want abs? And if that's the decision, then it's like, yeah, I want abs. But that's not the actual question. The question is, do I want to not have abs with my current life, or do I want to adopt all of these restrictions around what I can eat, what I can drink, the exercise I do, blah, 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 to maybe get abs 6 months down the road? Now I can see an actual, like, okay, well, maybe this isn't what I want. Or I can say, yeah, like, yep, no matter what, I'm ready to sacrifice everything. But you have to be making a real decision. So when I'm talking to people about whatever behavior change, it's like, here's the reality of what you're looking for. Then, okay, is that worth it to you? Right? So like, is it worth, there's a trade-off. Right. Is the effort that you're going to have to put in worth it for this result? And then to dig a little bit deeper, we get into the why, right? Everyone's heard find your why. What's the reason behind this? For the exact same reason. This stuff is hard, whether it's dieting, whether it's going to therapy, whether it's meditating more, whether it's sleeping more, drinking more water, whatever it is, there's a reason you're not already doing it, because it's hard. If it were easy, it would already be done. So anything that you have to embark on a goal, if you have to set it as a goal, what you're saying is that this thing is hard. No one sets a goal to tie their shoe. No one sets their goal to eat more fast food. Right. No one sets a goal to scroll on Instagram more, because those things are easy, and easy things just happen. Hard things take extra effort. So you have to be okay with that. And then my goal is to just now, when we understand that, help you simplify it, help you see when you're getting in your own way, because that's what most of the time people know what they're doing. They're doing the right stuff. It's just not happening fast enough. So they talk themselves out of it. They go, this isn't working. This is stupid. Oh my God, it's been 2 months. And then my job is to just be like, hey, this is that thing again. Remember, like, you're talking yourself out of it, and just keep them going. Because again, if people talk about like, oh, I tried dieting, it didn't work. It's like, no, you just didn't do it for long enough. Well, I tried working on my business, and like it failed. It's like, well, how long did you work on it for? Was it 6 months? Maybe it would have taken 6 years. 6 years you would have gotten there, but you gave up after 6 months. So it's like, time is always the number one factor. So my job as a coach is to present them with the reality and then help them stay in the game long enough to receive the result. And if I can do that, I've found most people will get to where they need to be.
Fantastic. And it makes sense, because every diet works. Every diet works. You just have to be ready. It's just like quitting smoking. You can try to quit smoking, but if you're not ready, if it doesn't mean enough to you, then it's not going to stick. So yeah, it makes total sense. Okay. So you're telling me that my goal needs to mean a lot to me. I need to be serious and understand that it is going to take some work. I need to stick with it. and I need to understand the steps that I need to take and make them easy. Something that I like to do so that I'm not going against my natural instincts, even though it's going to be hard. But if I'm doing those things, then I am, and I stick with it, then I'm most likely going to reach my goal of happiness and healthiness and wealthiness.
Well, again, happiness, healthiness, these are all big goals. You're giving yourself a chance at least, right? Like, again, all the stuff that I was talking about, it's like, once you understand, again, these are just the rules of the game. Now we're at least playing the same game. Before people are like, I use the analogy if you maybe have kids, or I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and I used to play Nintendo with my sister. My sister's older, so I'm 5 years old. She's the big sister playing, and she would hand me the second player controller, and I would still be happy just to be playing with her, and like I'm bumping into walls and I'm doing all this stuff, and then I come to find out the controller was never even plugged in. Like, I thought that I was in control. I thought that I was doing all of this. And it turns out that like what I was doing, I wasn't even playing the game. And that's what it's like when you are going through life without the rules laid out to you. When you think that, again, you have that instant gratification is an option. Like, that's the point, right? Like, people think that it's not like I'm saying like, well, it's either instant gratification or delayed gratification. And I'm just asking you to choose delayed gratification. So that instant gratification is not an option that's on the table. If it were, again, I would love for that. I want that to be the thing. It's just not real. So getting things faster than they can, again, having the result. Oh, if I just invest in a business that for 30 days that I'll be rich. It's like, these things aren't real. So when you're playing that game under those pretenses, it's like you're playing with the controller unplugged. Now, you can plug the controller in and now you're still playing the game. That does not mean you're going to win. But at least you have a chance. Like, at least now, like, I'm actually doing something, and I still might come in last place, but at least now I'm understanding like what's actually going on here. And so that's with my coaching, with my podcast, with my courses, that's all I can seek to do. That's all I figured out that I can do, is to be like, help people get on the actual track to where they're like, now we're playing the game by the right set of rules. Because if not, you end up being the guy who's just bumping into the wall over and over. And now you actually get to go forward.
Wow, that's a great analogy, Paul. And it makes total sense. I really appreciate your point of view, because that instant gratification, it's hard. You want to see a change in a week, in 2 weeks. You want to know, oh, my whole life is so much better now that I'm living in a different place after a month. And that's just not the reality of the world. And knowing that if it's something that means something to us and we're willing to put in the work and stick with it and be persistent, that good things will happen to us and we will see the results of our labor, right?
Right. And it comes back to confidence, right? All of that, because you have to be confident that exactly that, because it is going to take time, because we do want it to happen faster, but it's not. We have to be confident that what we're doing is going to get us a result. We have to be confident in our decision making. We have to be confident in what we're putting our time into and our energy into, because again, otherwise we're going to go, well, this isn't right, and we're going to end up giving up. Again, none of this stuff is a quick fix or a guaranteed. But if you start to stack all these little things together, you're more confident. You're more persistent. You're choosing goals that are a little bit easier, so you're not fighting yourself. You're set up for the long haul. Now you're starting to see that, okay, this is a person who can really achieve something. And that's what we're trying to build.
Yeah. And find pleasure in the steps that you're taking. So when you're taking the steps, be proud of yourself for taking the steps and find that as a win, or define that as a win, because you're doing the work. So good job for doing the work. Right. And you're moving forward. So just moving forward is something to celebrate.
Even just taking the action. You don't have to even move forward, right? Like, that's fine. You try. That's what you need to celebrate, right? You talk about, motivation, where they've talked about like intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, right? Or are you internally motivated or externally motivated? And they've done studies where they did with kids, where they praise kids in school. Some kids are praised on, you did so good. Oh, wow, you did so good on that math test. Wow, you got an A. That's so good. Which most parents, most people would think that's a good thing. You're praising them. You're giving them acclaim for something they worked hard. But they actually found out that those kids tend to do worse. Whereas when you praise a child for, I'm proud of how hard you tried. I'm proud of the effort that you put in. Regardless, disconnected from the result, those kids do better over time because they learn that they're not only loved or not linked to an outcome. What you're taught when you only celebrate wins is that, like, I'm only valued or valid when I'm succeeding. When I'm an A student, when I'm losing weight, when I'm making money, then everything is good. And ipso facto, if the other thing is opposite, if I'm not making money, if I'm not getting A's, then I do not have value as a person. Whereas if we train a kid, and training ourselves is no different than training a kid, that it's the genuine effort that matters, and it doesn't matter what the actual result is. That's what makes a difference. So I pat myself on the back. I celebrate when I show up. It doesn't matter. The result will come, but that doesn't matter. The thing that matters is, am I showing up for the thing? So again, this is where it goes back to the actions, the habits, the routines, disconnected from the goal. The goal comes as a result of that. If I show up for myself every day, the goal is going to come. I don't have to hyper fixate on that. And if I can get myself to be the type of person who shows up every day, I do that by not fixating on the goal. I do that by training myself to get value out of simply showing up.
Yes. Oh, that was the best right there. That was the best right there. So I hope everyone was paying attention. Did you hear what he said? You got to get value out of taking action. It's not about actually reaching the goal. It's about taking the action. Find the value in taking the action. Because once you do that, just think about how positive you're going to feel about every action you take and your life in general. That was great, Paul. I love that. Thank you so much for talking with me today. It has been such a pleasure. You have so many nuggets of information. We're definitely going to be sharing Paul's social links and any of his info so that you can check him out, and definitely check out the Happy Healthy Human podcast. He is on every platform, so you'll be able to find him easily. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks, Chris Hutchinson, for editing this and all of my podcasts. Make sure that you are following me, and it would be really awesome if you rated this show, gave us 5 stars, and told us what you liked about it, and definitely shared this podcast with those you love. So thanks again, Paul. Make sure you're following us. And I'm Joan, Your Restaurant Maven. He's Paul with Happy Healthy Humans. Check us out. Thanks again, everyone. See you next time. And Happy New Year!